Excellent. Konstantin. Ethan, how are you? Come over here. Okay. That's good. Okay, let's take a look at page 380. It's a very important part of the parasha. I kind of want to learn it together with you. So let's see how this goes. Avram, I could go? Okay. Let's learn it together. So basically, after the highlight, it doesn't get much better. They leave Egypt. They run away. They come to the sea. The Egyptians chase after them. They get desperate. They cry out. And God blows an eastern wind all night. The sea splits. They pass through the sea. The Egyptians follow them in. They get drowned. The Jewish people walk out on the other side. And they're singing a song to Hashem. And at this highlight, this is this amazing point, after Moses and the men, Miriam and the woman join out and sing songs, look at verse 22, page 381. Moses caused Israel to journey from the Sea of Reeds, and they went out to the wilderness of Shur. Vayelchu shloshet yamim bamidbar velo matzu mayim. They went for a 3-day period in the wilderness, but they did not find water. They went 3-day period in the wilderness and they did not find water. By the way, the Talmud and Baba Kama learns from here. You know, the famous institution of having Torah reading every Monday and Thursday and Shabbat this is, so to speak, a source. The Jewish people cannot go 3 days without water. Water is Torah. So you have Monday, you have Thursday, you have Shabbat. You never have 3 days without water. Okay? They came to Marah, but they could not drink the waters of Marah because they were bitter. Therefore, they named it Marah. The water is bitter. The people complained. By the way, the Kotzker Rebbe is going to say, was the water bitter or were they bitter?
Right.
Which is an important question. The people complained against Moses saying, what shall we drink? So the Jewish people are complaining against Moses, we have nothing to drink. Either they just pass through the water, we just celebrate the splitting of the sea, and now they have no water to drink. They have water that saved them from enemies, but they're thirsty. Vayitzak el Hashem. And Moshe cries out to Hashem. Vayoreu Hashem etz. And Hashem showed him a tree. Vayashlech el hamayim. He threw it into the water. Vayimteku hamayim. And the water became sweet. Sham sam lo chok umishpat v'shav nisau. There he established for the nation a decree and an ordinance, and there he tested it. Who tested whom? Vayomer im shamoa tishma lekol Hashem elokecha, vayashar be'enav ta'aseh, ve'azanta lemitzvotav v'shamata kol chukav, kol hamachala asher samti b'mitzrayim, lo asim alecha ki ani Hashem rofecha. He said, if you hearken diligently to the voice of Hashem your God, and do what is just in his eyes, give ear to his commandments and observe all his decrees, then any of the diseases that I placed in Egypt I will not bring upon you, for I am Hashem your healer. First of all, what does healing have anything to do with this? Question number one. What is the test? Who tested whom there? What's the test? ושם ניסהו לעם וראה קשי ערפן שלא נמלכו במשה בלשון יפה ביקש עלינו רחמים שיהיו לנו מים לשתות אלא נתלוננו. God tested the Jewish people, the nation, and he saw how tough they are, that they didn't complain. They didn't ask nicely. They asked in a complaining tone. Okay. They arrive in Elim, where there were 12 springs of water and 70 date palms. They camp there by the water. So they have water and date palms. What do date palms give you from a nutrition perspective?
Sugar.
It gives you sugar. It's like these nutrition bars. These it says these date. Go to the fancy coffee shops. So they're very fit. Just date, protein, and water and sweet water. Now they come to Elim. No water, bitter water, complained about the water, receive water, they have dates. Okay, they have sustenance. They journey to Elim. Now they go to the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month, which means how much time passed from the Exodus?
2 weeks.
So the Exodus is the 15th day of Nisan, correct?
Mm-hmm.
This is of the first month. This is the 15th day of the second month. So it's exactly a month after they left Egypt. It's 3 weeks after the splitting of the sea. So the first complaint is 3 days after the splitting of the sea. This is a couple weeks later. Okay, what happens now? The entire assembly of the children of Israel complained against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. What are they doing again? The favorite Jewish sport? Kvetching, complaining. The children of Israel said to them, if only we had died by the hand of Hashem in the land of Egypt, as we sat by the pot of meat, when we ate bread to satiety. For you have taken us to this wilderness to kill this entire congregation by famine. So again, literally, this parsha is known for the parsha of the celebration of the splitting of the sea, of the song. They get from song to complaints very, very quickly. Now, the first time they're just complaining they want water. They're complaining that the water is bitter. Now they're going one step further. If only we had died by the hand of Hashem in the land of Egypt. If we only could have died in Egypt. What's the meaning of we could have died in Egypt? It's interesting. Rashi says, Bikshu lamut miyadit v'lo mavtiti b'rav. Rashi says, they said, any death is better than death by hunger. Hunger is the most difficult death. By the way, you read about the hostages describe the hunger. That first, I recommend anyone, if you didn't watch the interview of Elisha Rabbi, right after his release, in Hebrew but translated to English, he says, you don't know what it means to be able to open the fridge and take out some food. Just the incredible privilege that we live in. So that's Rashi says. They said, we're dying, we don't want to die of hunger. The Rashbam says, Mitat tivit bezmana. They said, no. They're not saying we want to die. He says, we wish we could only die a natural death in Egypt. We'd live out our lives in Egypt. The Sforno adds more. Heidifu lamud bezman avdutam sveim velo b'midbar berav av shem b'nei chorim. They prefer to die as they prefer to die as slaves who are not hungry than free people who are hungry. That was their choice. My father always says that people don't understand what's the meaning of the matzah. Matzah has a contradiction meaning. Matzah has two names. It's called the bread of poverty, and it's called the bread of freedom. So is it bread of freedom or bread of poverty? So very often when you achieve freedom, you first have more poverty once you achieve freedom than you had before. When people left the Soviet Union, they first became poorer than they were before because they left everything behind. They came with a few hundred people who came to the United States. The choice of freedom is usually you prefer short-term poverty in order to achieve freedom. You quit a safe job in order to start your own company, you're poor. You can't, but again, you're fighting for your freedom. Very often the choice of freedom is the willingness to eat matzah instead of bread. And now the Jewish people says, you know what? We prefer to eat bread than matzah. We prefer to eat bread, have Social Security, have Medicare. We want the safety net. We don't want this freedom. Freedom is overrated. Okay? They have taken us out of the wilderness to kill the entire congregation by famine. Hashem said to Moses, behold, I shall rain down for you food from heaven. This is the introduction to the manna. Let the people go out and pick each day's portion on its day. I want you to pay attention. How many different commandments did they have with the manna? They have to pick out their portion on its day so that I can test them. This is test number 1 or test number 2?
2.
Test number 2. Is this test different than the first test?
Isn't it kind of similar? Because wasn't the first test about whether or not they would follow God in...
Well, so Rashi says, what was the test? How would they complain? Here there's going to be another interesting test. We'll see different opinions of what this test is about. There's a debate what this test is about. Let the people go out and pick each day's portion on its day, so that I can test them whether they will follow my teaching or not. The test is here, are they going to follow the teaching? What is the teaching? And it shall be that on the 6th day, when they prepare what they bring, it will be double what they pick every day. So first of all, you take each day's portion. Number 2, on Friday, you take a double portion. They shall prepare what they bring. They're supposed to be prep on Friday. And by the way, this is the very first introduction of the concept of Shabbat to the Jewish people. So we have Shabbat before introducing to the world. God rested on the 7th day. This is the first time Shabbat is introduced as a concept to the Jewish people. Moses and Aaron said to all the children of Israel, in the evening you shall know that Hashem took you out of the land of Egypt, and in the morning you will see the glory of Hashem, that he has heard your complaints against Hashem. So Hashem hears their complaints. Hashem listens to complaints as well. Okay? Customer service. For what are we that you should incite complaints against us? And Moses said, when in the evening Hashem gives you meat to eat and bread and satiety in the morning. By the way, this is a very Israeli. In Israel, this is an American diet. Eat a bagel in the morning and a steak at night. In Israel, you eat pita in the morning, you eat pita at night, and you eat chicken in the afternoon. Okay? As Hashem hears your complaints that you complain against him, for what are we? Not against us are your complaints, but against Hashem. So Moses is redirecting. It's like the famous story of the Chabad. There's a Chabad rabbi in a plane, and he's sitting next to a Jew who's very antagonistic to religion. And he says, I don't understand this in Judaism, that in Judaism, I disagree. And he's complaining the whole flight. And the Chabad rabbi turns to him and he says, listen, I just work in sales. You got to speak to management. You got to it's very simple. Moshe says, complain to Hashem. I'm in sales. You got to speak to management. But against Hashem, Moses said to Aaron, say to the entire assembly of the children of Israel, approach the presence of Hashem, for he has heard your complaints. When Aaron spoke to the entire assembly of the children of Israel, they turned to the wilderness, and behold, the glory of Hashem appeared in the cloud. Hashem spoke to Moses, saying, I have heard the complaints of the children of Israel. Speak to them, saying, in the afternoon you shall eat meat, again, steak at night, in the morning you shall be sated with bread, and you shall know that I am Hashem your God. It was toward evening that the quail ascended and covered the camp, and in the morning there was a layer of dew around the camp. The layer of dew ascended, and behold, upon the surface of the wilderness was something thin, exposed, thin as frost on the earth. The children of Israel saw and said to one another, it is food. For they did not know what it was. Moses said to them, this is the food that Hashem has given you for eating. This is the thing that Hashem has commanded. Gather from it every man according to what he eats, an omer per person, according to the number of your people, everyone according to whoever in his tent shall you take. This is a very communist approach. This is egalite. Everyone takes exactly according to the needs of the family. The children of Israel did so, and they gathered. Whoever took more and whoever took less. Why would they take more or less? Depending on how many people you had home. Okay? Omer per person. They measured in an omer, and whoever took more had nothing extra. Whoever took less was not lacking. Everyone according to what he eats had they gathered. Moses said to them, no man may leave over from it until morning. Second commandment. First commandment, you're only allowed to take what you need.
Mindful eating.
Mindful eating. Correct. Second commandment, you're not allowed to leave over.
No leftovers.
No leftovers. Why? No man may leave over from it until morning, but they did not obey Moses, and people left over from it until morning, and it became infested with worms, and it stank. And Moses became angry with them. They gathered it morning by morning, every man according to what he eats. And when the sun grew hot, it melted. So again, it's like a thick layer of ice. It melted. It was like this cold, ice cream sandwich, so to speak. It would melt in the morning when it was left upon. And it's interesting. So each one has to take whatever they need, but you have to finish it. Why was it important that they couldn't leave over? No, but that was the punishment. Why was it important that they don't leave anything over? So we have to understand what was the test. What was the test of the Jewish people? Moses said to them, it happened on the sixth day that they gathered a double portion of food, 2 omers for each, and all the princes of the assembly came and told Moses. He said to them, this is what Hashem had spoken. Tomorrow is a rest day, a holy Sabbath to Hashem. Bake what you wish to bake and cook what you wish to cook. And whatever is left over, put away for yourselves as a safekeeping until morning. So for Shabbat, you're allowed to. You're supposed to keep over for Shabbat. They put it away until morning, as Moses had commanded. It did not stink, and there was no infestation in it. Moses said, eat it today, for today is Sabbath for Hashem. Today you shall not find it in the field. 6 days shall you gather it, but the 7th day is the Sabbath. On it there will be none. It happened on the 7th day that some of the people went out to gather, and they did not find. Hashem said to Moses, how long will you refuse to observe my commandments and my teachings? See that Hashem has given you the Sabbath. That is why he gives you on the 6th day a 2-day portion of bread. Let every man remain in his place. Let no man leave his place on the 7th day. The people rested on the 7th day. And then after this whole story, now, so 1 second, how many commandments do we have over here about the manna?
1 per person.
Don't leave no leftovers. Collect double.
On Fridays.
On Saturday.
3 commandments. No, collect omer per person. Not more than what you need, not less. You're forbidden from saving until morning. And on Friday, you're obligated to take a double portion. And you're not allowed to so it's interesting. And people disobeyed which ones of these 3?
Leftovers.
So it's interesting. People left over at the beginning and it stank. Mm-hmm. And then people went to collect on Shabbat. But there's one thing, no one said, I'm not taking a double portion on Friday. That they were fine with. Taking a double portion on Friday, but some people went out on Shabbat to search as well. Hashem said to Moses, how long will you refuse to observe my... 1 second, we already read this. The house of Israel called the manna was like a coriander seed. It was white and it tasted like a cake fried in honey. Moses said, this is the thing that Hashem has commanded. A full omer of it shall be a safekeeping for your generations, so that they will see the food with which I fed you in the wilderness when I took you out of Egypt. Moses said to Aaron, take 1 jar and put a full omer of manna into it, place it before Hashem for a safekeeping for your generations. As Hashem had commanded Moses, Aaron placed it before the ark of testimony for safekeeping. So there was some manna that was preserved. Again, you're not allowed to save any additional, but there was 1 jar that was supposed to be saved for all eternity. The children of Israel ate the manna for 40 years, till their arrival in an inhabited land. They ate the manna until their arrival at the border of the land of Canaan. The omer is 1/10 of an ephah. So what do we learn from here? So let's start from the end. From the fact that God commands to take some manna to safekeep and place it by the Ark of the Covenant. What's the message? This is not just a cuisine for times of desperation. There are messages here that have to be learned for all eternity for the Jewish people. Messages for all eternity. That's number one. So what are the messages we need to learn from the manna? What is the test? It's interesting. What's the test? There are a few opinions. Rashi said, "לראות הישמרו מצוות התלויות במן, כגון שלא יתירו ממנו עד בוקר ושלא יצאו בשבת ללקוט." He wanted to see whether they're going to keep those commandments. What's the test? The test with the water was that they didn't ask nicely. Here the test, are they going to keep the rules of not taking additional and not collecting on Shabbat? That's according to Rashi. Rashbam writes, the test is whether they're going to have faith in God that He's going to give them their livelihood. So again, according to Rashi, it's technical. Are they going to keep the laws? According to the Rashbam, who's the grandson of Rashi, are they going to have faith in God to provide them?
Tomorrow will be another portion.
Correct.
But also gratitude, no? Because they were so complaining about everything.
No, that's not what they say. Another answer, הוריד המן כדי שיהיו פנויים מבקשת מזונותיהם ויתעסקו בתורה ורצה לראות הינהגו כך אם לא. Rabbeinu Bachi gives a different explanation. He said God afforded them to have a livelihood so they could work on their spiritual growth. And He wanted to test them, will they take advantage of the fact that they're provided for to focus on their spirituality or not? So there's a few different thoughts. So let's go step by step. First of all, it's the power. What's the message of each one of those laws? Number one, that you're not allowed to leave. You're supposed to take. You're supposed to take an omer per person. So these are lessons about livelihood. Number one is knowing how much you need. The number one lesson of livelihood, what do you need? I remember when I was in yeshiva, I wanted to get a private fridge. There's if you want some milk, keep some. And I called up my father, I said, I want a budget for a private fridge for my yeshiva dorm. I asked me the question, do you want it or do you need it? So let me think about it. Call back, say, I don't need it, it's fine. It's important to know what do you want, what's a want, and what's a need. That's number one. Number two, once you need something, you have to use it. Meaning, they collected what they needed. Some people don't be cheap on what you need. If you need it now, if this is a need, you need to take care. Oh, I'm not going to send my kids. I'm not going to teach them, extracurricular activities because I need to save up for retirement. If you need to educate your kids, you got to educate your kids. You got to take care of it now. If this is a need, don't try to save it up for tomorrow. The moment you decide you need it, that's gonna worm out. If you're gonna save money for retirement when you're supposed to send your kids, get them tutors to help them grow education, you're making a big mistake. Number one, you have to take what you need. The moment you have what you need, you have to use it. You can't put it aside. You know what? We'll push that away. Number three, so on one hand, you're forbidden from being meaning you're forbidden from being the need to save comes from being too frugal, meaning you want to save too much. Then the need to go, there's the prohibition of frugality, misplaced frugality. There's a prohibition of over-ambition, that you can't stop. You can't stop even for one day. You're searching for more. You're looking to go on Shabbat. So again, number one, you have to know what you need. Number two, the moment you know what you need, you can't push it away. You have to rely on Hashem. This is the right decision now. This is the right decision now. It doesn't make a difference. I remember when I got married, we discussed going to Paris. I said, Avital, some people say you should go to Paris when you're old. You save money and your retirement. You're 75 years old, then you can go to Paris. My wife told me, says, Benji, I want to go to Paris when I'm young and beautiful. I need to go to Paris now, not in the 50, 60 years from now. It's a great point. If you need to go on vacation, you got to go on vacation. You can't push it off. You can't wait till 75. I'll work on my marriage when I'm 75 years old. Then let's see what happens then. The second part is, when are you allowed to take double? You're allowed to take double to give yourself permission to focus on your family and on spirituality. So, meaning you have to take your needs, but then you have to take care also enough so you could focus on other things in life. You have to work to prepare extra so you could clear out time. Again, when are you supposed to work for extras? What does extra mean? I want to have extra assets, extra money. It's in order to be able to spend time with family, on spirituality, on self-growth. When do you take a double portion? When you prepare for Shabbat. Your financial growth, your understanding of what you are collecting for. What are you gathering for? It's for Shabbat. That's supposed to be the mindset. What's the goal? People don't have goals. You have to have a goal. To go. You need money to get married. You need money to raise children. You need money to give them an education. You have to understand what your goal is. When you're going for double, you have to know what you're going for. And Judaism, we call it with one very powerful word. It's called Shabbat. Shabbat includes spirituality, includes mental health, includes family, includes balance, includes everything else. And then knowing the need, you're scared of, well, what's going to happen tomorrow? So, the inability to stop, it's the fear. Who knows what's going to be tomorrow? If this is the right thing now, you have to do the right thing now. You can't. The fear of what may happen tomorrow could paralyze you. You're not going to be able to do anything in life. If this is the right thing to do today, you have to do it today. Figure it out. Again, there's a moment in time you have to buy a ring when you're proposing. It's a lot of money. You can't skip. You got to buy the ring. You got to figure it out. Again, you gotta. Then you live to fight another day. You can't work backwards and try to. So these hidden lessons, tests. So there's kind of both between God tested this as this is a test. This is, in a way, a slave doesn't manage his finances. A slave is given whatever he's given to eat, and they got meat. They got the pot of meat. They sat at the pot of meat. They were full. Egypt was a superpower that had, plenty of food. Even slaves had plenty of food, but they didn't have personal accountability. There was no personal finance. There was no financial education. This is the first lesson of financial education, of how you're supposed to relate to. And the manna is the framework of understanding. First of all, understanding that it comes from God. You have to make effort. It comes down, but you have to go get it. But again, at the end of it, you're surrendering to a higher force. Again, it's the humility to know that you could be the smartest person. By the way, King Solomon wrote, Lo lachachamim lechem. Bread is not always for the wise. That's the words he used. Just because you're smarter doesn't mean you're going to be wealthier. That's number one. But more than that is understanding that the humility to know that you could do everything right and you could work harder than everyone else, and still you could not succeed. You have to know that at the end of the day, God controls the world. And there are people who, you have to put your best effort. You have to put but it's not that your effort is what's going to guarantee it. it's a condition, but it's not the reason. The reason is always because God decided. If God is going to decide that you're not going to be successful, you could stay in the office until 10 p.m. You could read every single book. You could follow every single tip. You could kiss up to your boss every single day. It's not going to help. So again, we're obligated to make our best effort because that's how God created the world. God gave us a curse. Through the sweat of your brow shall you eat bread. And it's not meant to be easy, and we're supposed to put in our effort. But don't think that your effort is what's going to, you have to understand it's coming from heaven. So what are the messages? Number one, the Jewish people have to understand that their sustainability at the end of the day comes from heaven. Very successful. I've had some of the most successful people that I've met in my life, and they told me that if not X, people say I'm so smart, I'm so brilliant, I'm so successful, I built a company, I sold a company. If X, Y, and Z wouldn't have happened, that was completely out of my control. I would have been out of business, I would have been broke, and no one would ever know of me. Every person, there's something that happened that God, again, every job you get, someone made an introduction, someone gave you a chance when you didn't deserve it, someone introduced you, you got an interview, someone pushed you in. Every single person, there's no such thing. Every person who says he's self-made, it's the biggest BS you'll ever hear. You made your effort. Some people did no effort. It's also true. Some people, but even if you make effort, there's a time at some point that you're able to see God smile. And the things that not necessarily could have gone your way, but they went your way. So that's number one. So number one, that it's from heaven. Number two is understanding what are your needs. They had to make that choice. Understand what do you need for your family. It's a very important question. If you don't know what your needs are, once you know what your needs are, you can't have the frugality to push away what you need because of the fear of the unknown. Because again, the fear of the unknown, you'll never be able to do anything. And that's part of the faith. You're supposed to have faith in God. When are you allowed to take double? Because to allow yourself not to be always enslaved, in order to give yourself time to focus on yourself, on spirituality, like Rabbeinu Bachyi says, God allowed them not to have to, when you have prosperity, it's in order to allow you to do other things. What is the goal? By the way, very often people walk into my office and say, Rabbi, I just lost a lot of money. No one ever walked into my office and said, Rabbi, I just made a lot of money. Never happened. Never, ever happened. They're all in Florida saving money and taxes. As soon as they have a liquidity event, Rabbi, I'll see you in 3 years from now. That's the way it works. And Rabbi, please change the address of my membership to my Florida address. Okay, happens. But you're supposed to ask yourself the question, why do I have this success? What could I do with it? For myself, for my soul, for my family, for my spirituality, for my well-being, for my community, for my people, etc., etc. Supposed to ask that question. And then the ability not to go out on the seventh day. That ambition is great, but there are times you just have to take a break, no matter what. Again, if you would have to go to a funeral of a grandparent, and then someone who you're trying to reach to pitch your business for 5 years finally says, I'm available. Hey, are you gonna not go to your grandmother's funeral? They're choices. If you don't have time to say, you know what, it's important, but there's something more important. And that's Shabbat. There's supposed to be something that's more important than taking out another piece of manna. And that's why he said you have to keep it for all eternity, to remember this lesson. Because manna is going to change to agriculture, it's going to change to pita, it's going to be bread, it's going to be soy, it's going to turn to kale, it's going to be acai, it's going to be whatever you want, it's going to be protein bars and protein shakes. That's going to change. But the lessons of how to use the manna and what the manna means, that will change, stay forever. Thank you so much. Okay.